Hey guys, so I'm back with another video. This video is something I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. I'm going to be making a DIY custom dress form. So I've been wanting to do this for a while because I plan on making my wedding dress and I want it to be to my custom body measurement. And also it would be a great idea to have an outer shell of my body to see what my outfits that I do make will look on me without me having to try them on. So it's for those two main reasons. Also because you know, they're just really cool. So usually people go and buy a dress form, but those are really expensive and I don't have time for that. I do have an option of getting like a cheaper dress form, the ugly adjustable looking ones, but I don't want that either. So I would like to just make it myself. You can go the cheapest route of like a duct tape dress form or one made out of paper mache, but I think what's becoming more popular is everyone making one out of the pattern by this company called Bootstrap. I was thinking about it, but it's not exactly to how their body looks, and I want the exact replica. So what I'm going to do is, based off of the inspiration that I saw off of other YouTubers online who did the same thing, is to first make a duct tape dress form and then use that as the pattern to make the fabric dress form. Now, as far as with the duct taping session, I didn't have a chance to film that because my fiance was helping me and we were just trying to hurry up and get it done. I also have some fabric, so they suggest to use some medium weight non-stretch woven fabric. So I have this trench coat that I bought a while back when I was trying to do the whole oversized Korean trendy trench coat trend thing, but this one I got from the thrift store is just like this polyester twill. It provides no warmth whatsoever. It was so cold. Every time I wore this, it's not exactly fun to wear, but what's left over, I think I would like to use this to make my dress form. Is this a good idea? Am I about to do something stupid? I don't know, but I think I can make this work with this fabric. I also plan on using these 2007, these jeans from 2007 as the light underneath. These jeans are very old school. These are hip huggers. Okay, so here's the duct tape dress form. It is definitely to my body measurement for sure. Me and Sam worked about 2 hours making this bad boy. It looks really great. I just need to draw the lines. Okay, so when I was trying to draw the lines, I realized it was being a bit difficult to do that since I'm drawing the lines on myself, especially with the arm and neckline. So in order to do this accurately, I realized that I need to take off the suit and to use my table. My table is a bit too short, so when I realized that, I decided to use some VHS tapes to do a sort of like a quick, cheap method of making the table a bit taller. That way it's more comfortable, I don't have to lean over so much, but it's a really good idea and it works like a charm. Drawing the lines was much easier with the table, and I went ahead and taped the duct tape dress form back together. That way I can see all the lines a bit more clearly. I realized that this method isn't exactly the easiest method, of course, but I really enjoyed drawing the lines, making sure everything was even. Okay, I finished drawing all of the lines on the dress form, and now I am ready to officially cut it. I'm worried, so worried. Oh my god. So clumsy me didn't realize that I was cutting the dress form without labeling it first. I totally forgot to do that until just then. So after I realized, I went ahead and put the pieces back together and immediately just started labeling the pieces before I cut it too many. So I finally had everything labeled and it was looking much better. Then I can go ahead and start cutting the pieces out. Now the next step along the process was using the fabric, the pattern on the fabric. I had to seam rip a lot of the coat. There were so many parts of the coat that I didn't realize that need to be cut first. After doing that, I pinned all the pieces to the coat and just making sure everything was lined up correctly, which was a bit difficult because I wanted to make sure everything had a seam allowance around it. So I had to make sure everything had enough space between each piece. It was a lot. This was going to be a lot of work, but I took my time and made sure not to rush, and I used this really cool, I think this is a projector, no, a compass. I used a compass to draw the 1 centimeter seam allowance, and it made things a whole lot easier I highly recommend using it. Really, really good tip. After everything was drawn, it was time to start cutting the fabric. This part sucked. This part took forever. I used scissors instead of a rotary cutter as well. Yeah, this part was really, really boring. And by the end, I was super frustrated. Finally done. I'm so glad about that. All the pieces are ready. So I used some interfacing, this Pellon 950F. I thought about using the jeans as the interfacing or even this curtain. But then I decided to, I don't know, just change my mind because I wanted to use the curtain for something else. So I used the interfacing instead and just slowly took my time ironing on all of the interfacing, which took also a long time as well. Not too long, maybe about a couple episodes of watching TV. But once all the pieces were put together, it looked so pretty and ready to be sewn. Finally! Taking my time going through everything, making sure all the pieces were coming together. The back was sewn together first. It looked really, really great. I just went ahead and take my time to cut around the curves of the seam allowance. But yeah, the back piece is done and it looks really, really great. After doing that, I went ahead and started sewing on the front piece of the dress form. And ironing open the seam allowance just like what I'm doing right here. It's very important making sure that everything lays very, very flat. Then time to sew on the cups to the upper part of the dress form. And then I have the entire front piece done. It looks really good so far. After, just doing that part with the arm parts, which was really hard. Oh my God, sewing these circular small parts, which is really hard for me. Also cutting it out of cardboard as well. And, sewing on the cardboard with the arm cutouts. Once I'm done doing that, I have the entire shell of the dress form, and I can go ahead and sew on a stabilizer that's going to hold the pole. I used the wrapping paper pole for whatever reason. I'm eventually going to use something else, but this was just for temporary purposes. I went ahead and sewed it all together, and it fit on perfectly like a glove. After doing that, I went ahead and sewed those pieces onto the dress form, the pole piece and the stabilizer to the rest of the dress form. Everything went together pretty well, along with sewing on the neck part, which was the most difficult part of the entire dress form. I'm not gonna lie, I hated that part actually. Is now ready to be stuffed. I used these old pillows that I have and just immediately cut them open, which is something cool I've actually always wanted to do, and immediately started stuffing the entire dress form with this cotton. I actually needed more cotton than I thought I did. Well, I mean, I feel like I had just enough to stuff everything. I pretty much needed like 3 pillows, which I had, and just to make sure I separated the cotton before stuffing them inside of the dress form. This took me about 30 minutes or so, and it was actually the most fun part of the entire process. I love stuffing it. Now this cotton looked gross. It looked like hair, like nasty hair. It's so gross. But I had to use all the cotton that I could find and all the pillows I had and just slap it in there, making sure that it was to my measurements. After that, the bottom part of the dress form I cut out of this cardboard, and just sort of similar to how it is done in the bootstrap pattern. After cutting it out, I made a flap so that way I can open up the dress form whenever I need to, if I need to restuff it or not, and then just sewing that onto the trench coat fabric and the jean fabric. Now sewing these parts together doesn't take too long. After sewing it together, you have to just make sure that you cut around the corners, of course. Always do that when as far as with sewing, and then just turning it inside out so that way you now have the flap of the dress form ready to be sewn. And then once you have these 2 pieces, it's probably a good idea just to iron them flat and then sew them together with the zippers on both sides. And then go ahead and put the cardboard in place underneath the flap. And then I went ahead and hand sewn this together. You don't have to do it that way, but I just did it that way because that's just how it ended up happening. And it took a couple of hours, but because I wanted to make sure it was very secure. but at the end I say that it did a really good job. I'm very happy with it. And now I'm done with my dress form. This thing looks amazing. I'm so happy with it. It is gorgeous. It looks like me for the most part, and it looks great with any type of outfits that I put on it. At night though, it does look way too creepy. I don't like it looking at me, so I just go ahead and stuff it in my closet until I need it again on another day. So it looks like I am finally finished. I think I did a pretty good job. The top is a little bit bunched up. The fabric's a little bit bunched up around the neck, and the back looks a little bit like it has a bit of a, you know, a hunchback situation going on, but it's okay. One side of the bust is a little bit longer and flatter than the other side, so I'll just have to redo some of the cotton here and possibly put on a bra when I eventually do some draping on it, but I won't be doing most of my draping on this, so it's totally fine. Everything else is okay. It is leaning a lot. You know, I try to make sure to create a stabilizer, but it's still, there's a bit of a leaning tower of pizza going on, but it's totally okay. Overall, I'm very happy with it.